Dzogchen Today podcast. Welcome to Dzogchen Today's podcast. This series of What is Dzogchen dives into the foundation of Dzogchen and presents the richness of its tradition, its history, lineage, path, fruition, and much more.
Hi, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Vincent, and I'm gonna be your host today. In the next episodes, we will focus on one of the central triptychs of Dzogchen teachings, namely the base, path, and fruition. We will, in each episode, focus on one of these aspects and try to explain it. Today, in this fifth episode of What is Dzogchen, we are going to discuss the topic of the base. And to find out more about it, I am very pleased to welcome Mila Khyentse Rinpoche. Hello.
Hi, really happy to be back.
Thank you. And Damien Brohon.
Hello, Vincent.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
So, Mila Khyentse, you are a trained scholar, consultant, and teacher of Dzogchen. You have been traditionally trained in the Himalayas and in Europe, and you are now a lineage holder.
That's right.
Damien Brohon, you are an art teacher, an artist, and an author, and you also teach Buddhism in different French-speaking countries.
Yes, that's correct. Right.
Okay, so let's talk about Dzogchen.
Why not?
And more,
Great topic, huh?
and more precisely about the base today. But first of all, could you please introduce this topic of base, path, and fruition?
Okay, I can start about that. Usually when we talk about base, path, and fruition in the Dzogchen tradition, it's about, first of all, the path of the great perfection. When we use these three as a definition of great perfection, it's about our practice. If you isolate base from the two other ones, it's twofold. First of all, it means the base or the ground of all the reality. So this also is twofold. This reality is primordial reality and phenomenal reality, which means that the base is the primordial ground of our mind, and the second aspect is also the primordial origin, the primordial base of manifestation of all the phenomena. So this is the first point about the base, path, and fruition. And then there is the second point, which is the base of the path and the fruition, which means that the path of the great perfection will come from the perception you have from the base of the reality. So in this way, we have these two definitions, two different not really different definitions, because they are not different, but different in their two aspects, the base of the reality or the path of the base of the reality. Thank you.
Do you have something to say about it, Damien?
About the ground, we can say ground
Or base.
or base.
Sure.
It's
Ground is maybe more interesting.
Yes. But maybe it's more speaking ground than base. And it's, yes, that's a translation of a Tibetan term, meaning Ye Shi. Ye is meaning primordial, primordial.
Primordial wisdom. Which is linked to emptiness. Maybe.
Yes, to emptiness, to the real nature of everything, as well as the origin of everything. You can present in both ways. Shi means ground, and Ye is first, but you can say first beyond any chronology. It's first at every moment. We are not speaking here of something that happened in a kind of mythical past. We are speaking about what is happening right now.
All the time.
All the time, every instant, every moment. And the point of this Dzogchen path is to recognize that happening everything, every time, in every kind of circumstances
In every
bad,
manifestation.
good, good looking, bad looking, everything. Sometimes it is said that a path that has no friend and no enemy, because you can welcome everything, because everything is coming from this ground, or this primordial ground.
And also we can add that this ground is our primordial mind, the primordial aspect of ourselves.
Exactly.
So, of course, it can be only the origin of all the manifestation we perceive and we live, actually.
Thank you. So, to sum up, can we say that when we talk about basis, we are talking about the primordial basis and also the basis of all the phenomena?
Yeah, we can say so, because it's not two different things, and this is a crucial point to really understand, because the primordial basis of all the reality is also the primordial basis of all the phenomena. So it means that these two are not two. There is just one base. And then we say all the time, according to the view we can develop about the reality, there is from this base two paths, the path of emptiness, the path of primordial ground, of the primordial ground, and the path of the gradual realization of the primordial ground. So these are the two distinctions in terms of path according to the base.
Oh, thank you. And we can read in many texts that this primordial reality is undescribable, ineffable, indefinable, and in fact that no word can express it. But however, are there any descriptions of what this basis of reality might be? And does it have characteristics, qualities?
Yeah, actually, this base, when it's described like this, when you say indescribable, ineffable, and indefinable, these are actually the characteristics of the base. So we say they are characteristics beyond characteristics, meaning that we cannot define by any means we have, by our thoughts, our sensation, our emotions, whatever tools we have at our disposal, it's not possible to define this base, this ground of the primordial ground of the reality. So it's beyond everything we can just develop, we can just think of, etc., etc. How is this base not how we are not being able to describe it? It's because it's at the base of what we are. It means that it's beyond the scope of our ordinary reality, the human reality, the earthly reality, and so on. So this is why the base, the primordial base, is completely beyond our human scope. But at the same time, it's the ground of our own mind. So it's this big paradox that is at the base of the great perfection. And if you can realize this paradox, meaning that the manifestation of the base is not the base, but not different from the base, which is actually the core aspect of the great perfection, and this is why nobody can understand great perfection. If you can just realize that, then this is the great perfection, and this is what is called the path of the base, the direct path. But if you are not able to just be at this level of reality, of perception of the reality, then you need to take the gradual path of the base, meaning that you use your ordinary scope, your ordinary definition of the reality and practice of the reality to progress on the path, to be able to discover sooner or later, it depends on your application on the practice, to be able to discover this primordial base of your own mind but with the gradual path.
And what about you, Damien?
Yes.
Do you think this basis of reality has characteristics?
Yes, we can. Of course, that's beyond the words, but if you want to use words and to try to understand the kind of, we can say, characteristic or dynamic of this ground, there is three main words used, expression, you can say.
In Tibetan.
In Tibetan, Ngowo Tongpa, meaning Ngowo essence, and Tongpa meaning empty.
Empty essence.
Empty essence, so we can translate like that, meaning that's what Rinpoche was just saying about the kind of ineffability of this nature, which is completely beyond any words or description. But that's not a nihilistic void, you can say. That's a void that is full of every possibility. That's not the void of a white hole, that's more the void of a mirror. In a mirror, everything can manifest very brightly with a lot of colors, shapes, and so on. And that's the Ranjing Salwa, meaning the natural expression of the empty essence. And the non-duality of the two is coming into the topic of Tukje, meaning sovereign manifestation or capacity, or you can say also universal compassion, which is the ability to manifest fully. And that's going back to what we said before the non-duality of between the ground and the manifestation of the ground. That's the same thing. So here we have a threefold process of manifestation. That's a very essential topic to understand, or the way our mind and reality is, you can say, working as expression of the absolute, of the true nature of everything.
So this topic, as you said, Damien, is really, really crucial, because if you envision the grounds as a primordial void, and which is empty of everything, this is really, really completely not the base, not the primordial ground. One word is really important, and we will maybe emphasize it after. It's the cell, cell in Tibetan. It means the illusory dynamic in terms of dynamics of the base, which is not so a static thing, empty thing, but which is really vivid, which is the base actually of all the living reality of the mind. And this is so important to understand when you practice the great perfection or when you want to practice it. It's realizing this point, is realizing your true living nature as a human being. And this is so crucial.
Yes, you can say like that, you go to the core of your life, to the very vividness of the vivid. That's why that's an empty luminosity. This luminous aspect is very crucial in the Dzogchen way. You can say it's a path of luminosity.
So to sum up a little bit, we can say that there is an essence which is emptiness, a nature which is to manifest and in a kind of luminosity. And there is also an aspect of sovereign manifestation. And on this sovereign manifestation, you talk about a word in Tibetan, tsel. And about that last point, teachings sometimes explain the illusion despite this primordial purity. And we have a distinction between three terms called tsel, jel, and gyen. And can you tell us more about it, please?
Yes. Tsel is like power, energy, movement of this illusory dynamic, you can say, of the ability to manifest. Rolwa is the natural play of the mind the potential of manifestation, the ability to know, and that is coming with Gyan as ornament manifestation. You can say that Tsal is the dynamic, and in the dynamic manifests Rolwa with more knowing, and Gyan that is more what is know. If we look at this process for what it is, there is no duality. It's a display of a non-dual nature, luminous non-dual nature. But if we think that the Gyan, the ornament, what appears, is different from us, then we are stuck for a long time, according to the teaching, in duality.
And also, moreover, these three aspects are not different from the ground. We were talking just before about the characteristics of the ground, of the base. These are the three main characteristics of the base, actually. And when you talk about Tsal, you have to envision it as the energy of the base, which is an empty energy. But this empty energy is also the potential of the luminous manifestation, which is Rel. And sorry, I made an English Tibetan word, which is Rel. And so Rel is the first quality of the emptiness. So, as you said, it's not an empty space, it's an empty luminous space. And luminosity in this way is the way that our mind knows primordially the reality, which is wisdom, in fact, which it's this aspect we define usually as wisdom. And in the Great Perfection, it's the Rigpa aspects of the knowing reality of the mind. So it's a all-knowing manifestation of the emptiness essence of the mind. And this one is not different from the first one. So So the first one, emptiness, is also luminous, and it's also the manifestation of all the reality, which is Gyan. And when we talk about Gyan, we talk about the ornaments of the emptiness, or the ornaments of the empty luminous aspect of the mind. And so these three are obligatory. It's an obligation that these three are the characteristics of the ground of our own mind. So this is the primordial reality for the Great Perfection. And this primordial reality can be veiled just by the fact that we forgot our own nature, real nature. So these three, when we forget about this reality, then they become separated, three things instead of one with three characteristics. And then these three things are also different. They are not the same thing in our experience. So we need to just go back to the real aspect of the base. And so we have the path in the Great Perfection for that.
Okay. And is that point linked to what teaching called, primordial ground and ground of whole?
Yeah, exactly. This is all the difference. When you say primordial ground, it means that it's Tsel, Rel, and Gyan. So this is the free aspects of the mind, the free, liberated aspect of the mind, which is the Great Perfection. And when you forget, your base is not seen as this primordial ground, but the ground of all, which means the ground of all the manifestation of our We say dual reality. Dual reality because when we experience it, we think that we are a subject that are perceiving an object of reality, which is divided. So the primordial ground, which is Yeshi, is not the same in its expression in our experience as Khyentse, the ground of all in terms of ordinary manifestation. So this is the difference in terms of base, in terms of our ground. It's exactly the same. They are not two. But in our mind, so in our view of the reality, they can be two, because when we are divided in our experience into oneself and others, then there is several things. So this is the main difference between Yeshi and Khyentse.
Yes, we can say that Khyentse is a kind of crystallization of all our tendency. Because if we miss the recognition of the true nature of the mind, we will build something different. We will build something like a self, like a world, like others. And this is a kind of repetitive process that tends to auto-confirm itself, is looking always to confirmation.
It's a self-confirmation.
Self-confirmation, yes. Like a mouse turning in round.
Yes.
In a well, yes. Hamster.
A guinea pig.
Guinea pig.
Yes.
Guinea pig, yes.
Yeah,
like a guinea pig running endlessly in his will.
Yeah, without any direction.
And this is you can say that obscuration is as dynamic as the manifestation of the ground. That's very interesting to see. That's not something static. That's something moving all the time. And that's why we miss when we miss the nature of mind, we tend to miss it all the time. Fortunately, there's a possibility of a breakthrough because of the path.
Exactly.
That's open something in that system.
And we will see next time.
Exactly.
Next podcast.
And just a bit more in this. From the three, we say that in the great perfection, the base is the most important, because the path will lead to the results, which is the base.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you have something to tell more about it, or?
Oh, I think
No, that will be all.
yeah, this
Okay.
time. I
Thank
think
you.
Everybody is sleeping now.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
taken the
you.
time
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you very much.
And if you like this podcast, feel free to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and share it. And next time we will talk about the path of Dzogchen. So if you want to learn more about it, stay tuned.
You can find more episodes on your website, dzogchentoday.org. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast app and share it with your friends. We will be pleased to receive your feedbacks on podcast@dzogchentoday.org.